Money is simply an echo of value.
We are joined today by Bob Burg, best-selling author, international speaker.
Sales is simply discovering what the other person needs, wants, or desires and helping them to get it. Beware the person who comes to you offering new fundamentals. How to create those relationships where people would feel so good about you, where they would know you, they'd like you, they'd trust you, they'd want to do business with you, they'd want to tell the world about you. And, that's what it was about. It was a way to do it in a way you could be very confident, especially if you were not someone who was particularly extroverted and talky and so forth. In fact, if you were talky, you needed to learn how to bring it back in and ask a lot of those questions that you were kind enough to mention, the feel-good questions, and be able to listen and understand that at its essence, sales is simply discovering what the other person needs, wants, or desires and helping them to get it. And we can only do that through asking questions and then really listening and really tuning in. And so even back then, I'd always loved reading business parables. Parables are stories. Stories tend to connect on a deeper, more heart-to-heart level than how-to books, and though both are important. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to take this basic premise of the, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust, and put it into a story format. Now, I can tell a story on stage. That's fairly simple. You tell about something that happened. But that's different from writing a work of fiction, which is what a parable by definition, is. So even though it has proven principles, it's still a work of fiction. Fortunately, in the early 2000s, I met John David Mann, who was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I was working for, or that I was writing articles for. I wasn't working for them. Well, I guess in a sense I was, but on a monthly basis. And John, even back then, had a wonderful reputation as a brilliant writer and storyteller, and he's such a great guy. And I just, I took this idea to him, this sort of basic outline for a story. It was not written in any way, and asked if he would like to be the lead writer storyteller. And it took him a while. He really had to think that one over because he was busy and had a bunch of things to do. But finally he said, yeah, let's do this thing. And really the writing only took a few months. It was the year of getting rejected by 24 publishing houses before the 25th one picked us up and said yes. That was the big thing. But yeah, that's kind of how the Go Giver came about.
Okay, so you want to keep the wealth in the family. I get it. I hear you. Me too. That's why we wrote this book, Don't Spread the Wealth. Everyone tells you that you want to spread the money, spread the wealth around. No. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the money in the family with the people you love and care about, where it belongs, for as many generations as possible. That's what we talk about in this book. In this book, we have an incredible 15-page bonus you can download, which instructs you on how to start the conversation with your family on annual family banking meetings, how to host them, some sample exercises, and a sample agenda. Tons of amazing, great benefits. Go ahead, get a copy right now. Head on over to Don't Spread Wealth. That's don'tspreadwealth.com. Don'tspreadwealth.com. You're going to love it.
Go takers tend to be very frustrated because they rarely attain that level of success they feel they deserve. And even when they do, and they do sometimes, it tends to not be as sustainable because it hasn't been built on that most important of all things, the relationships.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn, the great business philosopher, used to say, beware the person who comes to you offering new fundamentals. Right? They don't exist. They're like new antiques. It's an oxymoron. And so we took a bunch of the stories from both of those types and put them in a book, Go Givers Sell More, where we took all 5 of the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity, and gave examples, from those. Then the next one, the Go Giver Leader, was to answer the question, well, so how does a Go Giver, basically, the first book was for entrepreneurs and salespeople, basically, but it was used as a leadership book by a lot of people, but people wanted some more specifics. How does a leader actually, so that's where the Go Giver Leader came. And then finally, we did, the fourth one was the Go Giver Influencer, which is all about people skills. And, I'm a big believer that talent is important, ability is important, hard work is important, all these things, very, very important. but they're basically just the entry fee to get into the game, right? There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of people who work hard. There's a lot of people who are conscientious. There's a lot of people who can do but the ones who really go from success to stratospheric success, those are the people who've mastered people skills, the ability to attain the results they want when dealing with others, even those difficult others, and do so in a way where they also make that other person feel genuinely good about themselves, about the situation, and about you. And that's how we did the Go Giver influencer. And then of course John and Anna did the Go Giver marriage after that. Great assessment. And I think the marketplace will generally tell you what it is they want. And if you're interested in pleasing the marketplace, well, you do very well. As John David Mann and I say in Go Givers Sell More, money is simply an echo of value, right? It's the thunder to values lightning, which means if your focus is on the value you're providing others, the money you receive is simply a natural result of that value.
Go ahead, watch the next episode, click down below, and make sure you click over here to subscribe to our channel.